Even if you have never read a play before, you've probably spent your life absorbing the skills necessary to read one. Anyone who has grown up going to the movies or watching television learned the common language of drama long ago. When your pulse races during a tense scene in a movie, or when you laugh at a pratfall in a sitcom, you're responding as you should when you read a play, exercising your best judgment of character, following and reacting to the manipulations of plot, and staying alert to underlying meanings. Purely by instinct, you most likely react to drama with the correct emotions. And if that doesn't work, you may have noticed that most of our TV shows have, and movies too, huge hints about how you're supposed to feel. If you've never paid attention before, try paying attention to the music that's playing during a movie or a mystery television episode. Usually you have at least 10 seconds of warning. And I swear, up until 1979, you would know when something terribly scary was going to happen in a horror film. 90 seconds, exactly. You could time it 90 seconds before, so you'd have plenty of time if you were sitting in a movie theater to go, so that you didn't have to watch the axe fall or what have you. So maybe it's instinct, and maybe it's just very, very carefully the controlled environment of the theater and film. Anyway, these reactions don't happen accidentally, of course. Directors, scriptwriters, and playwrights avidly study human nature, and they use their knowledge of instinctual responses to push your emotional buttons. For example, they count on your responding in a particular way when you see a child in danger. And again, if you're not reacting the right way, there's going to be that very, very tense kind of buzzy music to let you know. In a different way, when you see an attractive person disrobing by candlelight, oh, that's going to be really soft music. What do you think? Guitar? Violin? But instinct is only half of the story. Many of your responses are shaped not by your instincts, but by dramatic conventions, devices, phrases, or actions that have, over time, become so common that their meaning is immediately apparent. Without knowing it, you've internalized dozens of dramatic conventions. When you hear a violin playing in a minor key, here we go. On a movie soundtrack, you, like most people, probably feel melancholy. Dun, dun, dun. Right? That's not so much instinct as a learned response. Even if you are not consciously aware of it, you don't need to know when you've been conditioned to feel sad when you hear a violin in the background for your emotions to respond correctly. The process has become automatic. It's a kind of a cue. Anyway, dramatic conventions then and now. And the book is going to talk to you quite a bit about things like the Greek chorus. But what I'd like to talk to you about now is the ancient Greeks. The conventions of drama that we currently possess, we have inherited from the ancient Greeks. It's a very special time when Sophocles was writing. It's what we call the Age of Pericles. Pericles was a general and in charge of Greek military. And he was also, if you like, a king, military king. Pericles worked really, really hard to turn Athens into a democracy. And the people behind him valued equality above practically everything else. I mean, of course they wanted the populace to be healthy. Of course they wanted, beautiful artworks and appropriate religious ceremonies and responses to the gods and praises and so forth. Good wheat to come in, harvest time, all of that. But the Greeks had realized a really, really long time, like 2,500 years ago, that a society is going to be the most prosperous when the people are given equal say in government. And believe it or not, the two things that they invented to ensure that that would happen, we still possess. And those two things are rhetoric and drama. And they're necessary things, because for a populace to be able to govern itself and not be taken over by some sort of an autocrat, some sort of a military presence, or someone whose wealth is of such a nature that they can control what people think, control the airwaves, decide what the populace thinks is good and wise and what the populace thinks is horrible and wrong and must be punished. The Greeks, the Athenians in particular, did not want that. They foresaw that democracy was going to be the key to prosperity, and that leadership was a very, very important cornerstone of that, and that the leadership had to witness the interests and the desires of the people. And drama gives us a forum for observing the qualities of leadership. And the audience then walks away from the drama with the power to discuss what was good in leadership, what was poor in leadership, what makes a good king. And if you like, Sophocles' trilogy, the Oedipus Rex, the Antigone, which is the second in the trilogy, and the third, Oedipus at Colonus, all three of these are exercises in what makes a good ruler. And what we see in Oedipus the King, and also again in Antigone, is why leadership fails, and it fails for one very basic reason. The leader doesn't listen. And so that's what you will be attending to as you read the Antigone. And what you'll see in the Antigone, as well as in Death of a Salesman when we get there, and in actually quite a lot of drama that you might observe in the movie theater or on your screen at home, is what the Greeks called, well, they called it kind of self-delusion. Ate is the Greek word. It's an A with a circumflex accent over it, T-E, ate. A loose translation is spiritual blindness, but what it really means is that human beings are kind of unable to see themselves and see the truth of themselves and see themselves how others see them. And a lot of the proceedings of the Greek plays reveal bit by bit. The audience understands the character first, actually, and it takes the main character a very long time to understand that he isn't who he thinks he is. He doesn't have the powers that he thinks he has. He's not the kind of leader he thinks he is. And then he finally realizes and finally acknowledges that he wasn't supposed to do what he did. So if you like, the Greek plays anyway, Sophocles in particular, it's a lesson in leadership, and it's a lesson for people who would have a democracy, that a democracy has to be run by consent of the people. Anyway, this is a good stopping place.